Southern California is the place for anyone who enjoys car watching. Where else could you cross paths with a beautifully restored 1959 Plymouth Fury coupe cruising in the late afternoon sun? Well, this is a rather special Plymouth, not so much because of the car, but because of the driver. You may get a clue to his identity from his destination. Yesterday Once More Limited in Santa Fe Springs, California, is the proud possession of Richard Carpenter, who throughout much of the 60s and 70s scored many a hit record with his late sister Karen Carpenter. When the Carpenters weren't busy touring or in the recording studio, Richard was looking after his incredible collection of patiently restored classics. At one point, he owned no less than 90 classic cars of various makes. But when it got to be a little too much to maintain them all, he reduced his collection to just over 30. But oh, what a collection it is. His favorite manufacturer is Chrysler, but Richard spreads it around a little too.
We have 4 Thunderbirds, a 55, a 57, a 62 factory sports roadster, and a 64 convert. Studebaker Avanti, 65 Riviera Grand Sport. Another favorite of mine is a 63 Pontiac Grand Prix. We have 66 Stingray, my 81 DeLorean that I bought new, my MGB, which is a favorite also of my wife's.
And that's just to name a few. The Carpenters moved from California from Connecticut in 1963, and Richard was immediately impressed by how the dry California climate made for well-preserved older cars.
Having come from back east and being into 57 Chrysler cars and Fords and Chevys and T-Birds and all, and watching them rot almost before our eyes back there, I could not believe it. When we pulled into Southern California and saw all of these cars on the turntables and in the lots looking like brand new.
How many people do you know still own the first new car they ever bought? Richard Carpenter is one.
I'm seated next to a 1965 Plymouth Belvedere Satellite convertible. It's the first new car that the family purchased. We got it in February of 1965. We saw it on the showroom floor. We were not going out for a convertible, obviously. We were going out for a family car, but we decided on a Satellite. We fell in love with it and purchased it. And Mom and Dad were nice enough to let me use it as my car, which I drove to college while I was majoring in music. And we've had it all these many years.
Looking around Richard's collection, it's obvious that the Chrysler 300 is one of his big favorites. It was perhaps the first Detroit big-engined muscle car. Big block Chrysler engines with cross-ram induction, hooked up to a Chrysler automatic transmission, could lurch these heavyweights up to speed with gusto. Richard Carpenter never got into car collecting as an investment. It was strictly a function of automotive desire. But his Chrysler 300s are taking on blue-chip status.
They have really gone up. Convertibles more so than others, of course. But, you know, I spent quite a bit of money to get these cars to factory spec, and had some people think I was loony. They're saying, if you're going to be spending money on automobiles, you ought to be spending it on a 55 Chevy or a Corvette or the obvious cars. And I really wanted to go with what appealed to me most. And it's been a pleasant surprise, I'll tell you, to see what's happened with the Chrysler 300, especially the 300C, D, E, F, and G. They have really skyrocketed, and I think that they should. They're really a special car.
Richard also owns an original 1959 Edsel. They're not that valuable yet, and they have a rather checkered past. Why does he have it?
The Edsel really isn't one of my favorite cars, but it really has an interesting story surrounding it, and I find it an interesting car, so I did collect it.
Maintaining a vast collection of special interest cars requires lots of work, and Richard employs a full-time mechanic to keep his cars factory fresh. After years of looking after his warehouse of collectibles, is it still fun?
At times, collecting the automobiles is fun, and at times it's highly frustrating. I'll tell you, it is.
Richard Carpenter had a heavy dose of the limelight during his long recording career. And although he no longer knocks out hit after hit, it's obvious that his love of cars and those frustrations that owning his vast collection create are still very satisfying.
thinking back on all of this, I'm happy I did it. I really find cars fascinating, in case I haven't gotten that point across, and I'm happy I've done this.